Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely deconstructing an inescapable observation about the world we're living in right now. I mean, think about it. If you've ever looked around at the lightning-fast technology, the endless conveniences, and just the sheer abundance of the 21st century, and caught yourself thinking, man, why does everything still feel so incredibly heavy? Well, you're definitely not alone. So today, we're going to look at the exact mechanics behind that feeling as we unpack what's known as the paradox of modern progress.
Everything's amazing, and everyone is anxious. That hits hard, right? It's just 7 words from our source material, but they absolutely nail the bizarre, almost contradictory reality of our modern era. On paper, we've got smartphones, global connectivity, literally anything you want delivered right to your front door. It is, by definition, amazing. But look at the second half of that thought. Everyone is anxious. The internal human reality just does not match the external technological achievements. It's like we've built this total utopia of tools, yet we're completely struggling to live inside it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the modern progress paradox, a systemic disconnect. So, what we're really looking at here is a systemic disconnect. The author states we are living in the best times in the history of mankind, and objectively speaking, by pretty much every historical and economic metric, that's completely true. Yet at the exact same time, we are experiencing more distress than ever. This is the exact paradox we're unpacking today. It's a fundamental, honestly kind of cruel contradiction. We've conquered so many historical threats, right? Famine, extreme physical isolation, basic daily survival, only to replace all of that with a profound, pervasive, and totally invisible sense of distress. Why doesn't the best time in history actually feel like the best time?
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark tension we're dealing with. At a macro level, everything is amazing. We see constant societal progress, the so-called best times in history. That's the external progress we constantly hear about on the news. But at the micro level, our daily human reality, everyone is anxious and we're experiencing more distress than ever. That's our internal state. The source material is basically forcing us to confront a super uncomfortable fact. Just having better tools and a more advanced society, it doesn't automatically engineer human happiness. Actually, these two realities might be moving in completely opposite directions.
Which brings us to Section 2, the overabundance of distress, the weight of more. Now, fair warning, we're about to look at a pretty overwhelming list of systemic failures that are somehow thriving despite all our technological progress. The author really highlights the sheer volume and scale of this problem. We have more distress, more anxiety, more depressed people, more hunger, more poverty, more discrimination, more sickness, and more distrust. Do you hear how heavy that gets? More, more, more. We usually associate the word more with abundance, right? With wealth and progress. But here, the author completely flips that concept to show an overabundance of systemic failures. It's just a staggering, exhausting inventory of human suffering happening right in the middle of our so-called best times.
Than ever. Just let that sit for a second. More than ever. I really genuinely want you to think about how this resonates with your own daily experience. When you open your phone and scroll through the news, or walk down the street, or even just sit alone in a quiet moment with your own thoughts, do you feel the weight of this more? Despite all of our modern technological magic, are you feeling this pervasive modern distress? The author is arguing that this isn't just some abstract sociological theory for us to debate. This is literally the air we are breathing right now.
Let's move to our next idea and see how this builds. Section 3, the medical illusion. Lifespan versus health span.
So how does this paradox actually manifest in our physical bodies? Now, what's really interesting about this concept is that, on one hand, modern medicine has drastically increased our lifespan. We are living longer than ever. But on the other hand, the author points out we've actually reduced our healthy quality of life. Extending the length of a life does not inherently equate to extending the vibrant quality of it. In fact, research often shows a growing gap of about 10 to 12 years between our lifespan and our health span, meaning we spend the last decade of our lives merely surviving chronic illness rather than actually thriving. We're existing for decades longer, sure, but we're basically just addressing symptoms temporarily rather than securing true wellness.
So the crucial point is that the author argues our medical system creates his powerful illusion of progress through a really relentless cycle. First, we address the symptoms. Second, we implement temporary quick fixes, like a pill or a minor procedure. And because of this incredibly short-sighted focus, third, we actually reduce the overall healthy quality of life. By constantly putting out fires and ignoring the root causes, we're patching the machine up just enough to keep it running a little longer, but the machine itself is fundamentally degrading. It perfectly mirrors the larger societal problem we've been talking about, doesn't it? Surface-level success that's hiding deep systemic decay.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Knowing all of this, knowing about the deep anxiety amidst the amazing technology, the staggering distress amidst the abundance, the reduced quality of life despite the significantly increased lifespan, are we truly progressing, or are we just surviving longer? I want you to take that question with you today. Really reflect on what real, meaningful progress actually looks like for you, for your health, and for your peace of mind. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack these ideas, and remember, always keep questioning the world around you.